Dumelang Absheni Ralocha Sanwanani Mulweni. My name is Naledi Mfoloe, and it is my absolute pleasure to welcome you to the latest edition of the African Diaspora News channel, where we unravel the stories that shape our world and our community. Now, we all know that the issue of illegal immigration in South Africa, particularly from other African countries, has actually sparked heated debates for years. And many people are quick to point fingers at Black migrants from across the continent and blaming them for taking jobs, for stretching our already limited resources. But today, Julius Malema, leader of the Economic Freedom Fighters, has actually thrown a major curveball into the conversation. And he raised an important point, right? Which is they are, in fact, many white people living in South Africa illegally, especially in places like Cape Town, and yet they've never been told to go home. And as a South African, this is something I've noticed as well, and it's something that stinks because we know the narrative in our country, which is the one where Black Africans are often vilified, seen as outsiders or foreigners, taking from the system, even though many of us are descendants of this very land. And it's a narrative that's been pushed by certain sectors of the society, especially as frustrations with the economic crisis and unemployment continue to rise. But what about the white foreigners who are here illegally? Why is it that when it comes to certain groups of people, there's a different standard? And why are we, as Black South Africans, quick to accept the idea that the problem of illegal immigration is tied only to Black migrants? And more importantly, why do we never seem to hear about white people overstaying visas and entering country on tourist permits or even living here illegally? I mean, think about it for a second.
Then there was silence in the room because there was no Afrikaner in that room and there was no English South African in that room. There was absolute silence. And then eventually, one woman who I knew for a fact because she told me herself, which was trying to be friends, one woman who said, I came to South Africa 7 months ago on holiday from England and I never went back. I told my husband I'm not coming back. I'm on a visitor's visa and my husband has had to follow me. So we are on visitor's visas, but we're just having a good time and we're just going to stay. She said, well, she tried to explain it, but she couldn't because she doesn't understand white South African culture. So I said to her, why are you explaining this to me anyway? You're not South African. Then she said, well, nobody in this room is South African. We all just came on holiday and stayed. And everybody laughed. Like literally everybody laughed. So I turned around and I said, is this true? And they said, yeah. You just come in with a visitor's visa. They never bother you about your driver's license and your particulars. None of them had South African IDs. But guess what? They were wheeling and dealing in millions of US dollars in that room. And none of that money was going to the South African government. But the assets being traded were all 100% South African. That is theft in hundreds of millions of rands. That's when I collected these stories. And then, like the length of time I was in Cape Town, I literally met about 5 real white South Africans. 5. The rest are illegal, and the rest are stripping South Africa of its assets and taking it back to Italy, England, Portugal. Those were the 3 major ones, but I'm sure there are more. So yeah, I really do think my ancestors' people are concentrating on the wrong illegal aliens.
There are a lot of illegal immigrants here in South Africa who are white people. Many of them are found in Cape Town. One of them the other day tweeted that I came to Cape Town for tourism 6 months. I can't believe I even stayed for more than 12 months. It's so nice. This thing can hear that is saying it's illegal in the country, but it doesn't apply. to white people. There was never an outrage on Twitter that she doesn't have visa. Had a black person said that, or my brother, the way is so nice here in Hillbrow. I didn't even renew my visas. You will go home the following day. Our own people will go hunting for that person. But I looked at that thing of that white lady with interest, and I wanted to see what is going to be the reaction. Nothing.
And Malema is right to point out this contradiction, because the truth is, a lot of us have been conditioned to focus on Black migrants, blaming them for things like rising unemployment and poverty, while white foreigners, especially in places like Cape Town, are almost invisible when it comes to similar scrutiny. And it's as if there's a silent agreement, right, that their presence is somehow okay, while the presence of Black migrants is criminalized. And it's frustrating if you think about it, because it feels like there's a double standard at play. Because why are we so quick to blame Black people for the country's struggles, yet remain silent when it comes to the white community? Maybe it's because of the lingering effects of apartheid. I don't know, where the white minority was afforded privileges, including the ability to actually bypass the same scrutiny that others would face. And perhaps, maybe, it's an unspoken truth that the systems of power, despite the political changes since 1994, still favor certain groups over others. And let me be clear, illegal immigration, no matter who it involves, is a serious issue. But if we're truly going to address it, we need to do it fairly. We need to stop picking and choosing who gets to be scrutinized and who doesn't based on the color of their skin. If we're going to say that illegal migration is the problem in South Africa, then we need to hold everyone accountable, no matter their race or nationality. And I think part of the issue lies in how we, as South Africans, have been conditioned to actually view migration through the lens of race. And it's quite sad, because the way we talk about African migrants, particularly those from countries like Zimbabwe, Malawi, and Somalia, is often deeply racialized. It's like we've accepted this narrative that only Black people are outsiders, while white foreigners are somehow seen as privileged guests. And Julius Malema's comments, I believe it should serve as a wake-up call, because it's time we start having honest conversation about the way we see race, migration, and belonging in South Africa. And yes, right, there are Black migrants living here illegally, but there are also white migrants doing the same thing. So why do we only seem to care about the former? And as Black South Africans, we need to be more self-reflective, honestly, because are we allowing ourselves to be manipulated into focusing on the other in ways that don't serve us? Or are we feeding into a narrative that distracts us from the real issue, which is the fact that we are still dealing with the lingering effects of apartheid and colonialism, which continues to impact our communities? I mean, we have to stop acting like we're powerless in this conversation. We have the power to challenge these narratives, to speak out against these double standards, and to stand up for fairness and justice. But it starts with us looking at our own attitudes and holding ourselves accountable as well. So, in conclusion, I believe that the issue of illegal immigration in South Africa needs to be dealt with fairly, with no exceptions. If we're going to challenge illegal migration, then we must demand the same scrutiny for everyone, no matter the skin color. We need to stop allowing certain groups to slip through the cracks while scapegoating others. It's time to address the real problems in our society and take action to fix them. What are your thoughts on this? Please, let's continue the conversation in the comment section, because it doesn't end here, right? And while you're at it, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. That's it from me. Till we meet again.